house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 17 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Jamie Allen, and she wants to know if I had to choose between Johnny Mac and Jason, if they were up on the block together, which one would I vote out? That is such a tough question. I don't even know. I love both of them as people. Here's the thing. I feel like Johnny Mac is way better than Jason at competitions, but I feel like Jason would be way more trustworthy. Like, I don't know. Oh, it's difficult. This is a really lame answer, but I'd probably have to see how everyone else is voting and then just, like, go with it. I don't know. It's really tough. It would also depend on, like, if I was working with one of them or, you know? But that's a very good question. Leave it in the comments what you guys would do. All right. So this morning and last night were freaking nutso. So let's talk a little bit about last night. It looked like Vanessa was considering maybe using the power of veto. So she was talking some things through with Austin, and they were talking about how much it would suck if Jackie came back into the game and then all three of the goblins would be together again, Jackie, James, and Meg. That would be rough. So Vanessa's like, should I use the POV and then we'll have to put up either Meg or James? Because, like, obviously Liz and Julia are off the table. So the only other options are Meg and James anyway. So they're trying to figure this out, and they're like, well, if we evict Meg, it's not likely that she's going to win the competition to come back. But you never know, because I feel like last season's was a total crapshoot. So it could have been anybody coming back. And then they're like, if we evict James, the returning juror would have to work with Meg. You know, like, if James was still in the house and, like, Jackie came back, that would be pretty strong. That would be a strong duo. But if Meg was the one still left in the house, not as strong. So they want to think it over a little bit more. They want to, you know, go through all the pros and cons. They're going to come back to that. So then Steve and Austin were chatting up in the HOH room, and Steve is telling Austin he wants to clear up the whole rumor about him having a Final Two deal with Johnny Mac. So Steve is just like, a few weeks ago, John and I agreed that we weren't going to go after each other, but it was not a Final Two deal. But Steve is like, I think Johnny Mac was under the impression that it was a Final Two deal, but it wasn't. So then he explains that the two of them wanted to make themselves look like a pair so that they could work with Shelly and Clay. They wanted to have a group of four. But Steve was saying that this alliance never actually happened. So Austin's like, yeah, sounds great, whatever. So then Austin is saying, like, he's going to need a reason to put up one of the goblins. So then he's thinking, well, maybe I tell them that Vanessa didn't talk to me first and decided to use the power of veto all on her own. And then he had to put up a goblin. Yeah, it's really believable that the power of veto holder wouldn't talk to the HOH. Really? So then Austin is just like, yeah, Steve, like, I feel really good about where we are right now. Like, we're good. Vanessa's back in our group. It's all good. It was a little rocky for a while, but now, yeah. We'll see about that. So then Julia and Liz were chatting in the hammock, and Liz was like, oh my god, Julia, you have to help me pick an outfit. Austin and Liz were planning on having a special date night last night in the HOH room again, and Austin told her, you want to look good for tonight's date because it's going to be something special. We're going to get some TV time. Make sure you look good. So they're trying to figure out, like, what's going to happen, and they're thinking, like, maybe Austin is going to ask Liz to be his girlfriend or something. So Julia's like, oh my god, he needs to settle things at home first. Because, I mean, like, he's kind of got a girlfriend back home, kind of not. I don't know. It sounds a little weird. But Julia does not want Liz to be some side hoe on TV. So then Austin comes over, joins them for some game talk. He still does not want to put up James or Meg this week. He does not want to do it. They're having too much fun. They don't want to leave the party early. So then he brings up how he's hearing two different stories from Johnny Mac and Steve about this Final Two deal between the two of them. And he thinks that Steve is the one that's BSing him. He's not happy about that. So then it was time for Vanessa to go searching for some info. So she did some pretty intense interrogations last night. First up was James. She was trying to pull out some info from him. She was like, who were your targets during the double eviction? And James was like, honestly, like, during the double eviction, I was throwing that competition. Because he didn't want to put anybody up on the block, so he wasn't doing it. And then Vanessa was like, well, what about Meg? Like, what was she doing? And James was like, Meg wasn't coming after you either. Like, Jackie was definitely going after you. She was definitely trying to win the competition, but we're innocent. It wasn't us. So then Vanessa brings up Meg crying after the Power Veto competition this week. She's really stuck on that. And James is just like, you should talk to Meg. Like, I'm telling you, she is not coming after you. She's never said anything to me about it, but you should go talk to her if you want the full story or whatever. So Vanessa pulls Meg aside. It's her turn to get interrogated. That word sounds so weird coming out of my mouth. Interrogated. Okay, so Vanessa is just like, Meg, I've heard that you were upset that I tried to make a deal with you during the double eviction. And if you guys remember, that's true. Like, Meg was really pissed about that. She was crying about it. And Meg was just like, no, it didn't bother me. I wasn't upset about it at all. I know that's how you play the game. It was whatever. So Vanessa's like, well, that's not what I heard. So then she moves on and she's like, I want to explain something to you. And Meg is just like, no, like, you don't have to explain anything, it's fine. And Vanessa's like, no, I want to explain something to you. So then she's telling her how everyone else in the house has at least one person that they're working with. Meg has James, Steve has Johnny Mac, got the Oz twins over there doing whatever. And Vanessa's just like, I only have my integrity and my word. Okay, so Meg is just like, yo, you don't have to tell me. Like, I worked so hard when you were up on the block with Shelly to keep you that week. So, like, you don't have to tell me. And then Vanessa's asking Meg, like, what were you going to do if you won HOH during the double eviction? And Meg was like, I would have nominated Steve and Johnny Mac. And Vanessa, again, is just like, yeah, that's not what I'm hearing about that. So, like, that's not what I heard. And Meg's just like, well, that's the truth. So, I think Meg, I think she did a good job during this conversation, because usually when she's confronted about something, she's like, ah! But this time, she was just like, so I thought that was pretty good. But then they were talking about this week, who should go home between Steve and Johnny Mac. Meg didn't really give an answer. Vanessa was like, yeah, I think Johnny Mac should go, because just in case Becky comes back, like, she knows that Becky's going to want to take her out, so she wants to weaken that a little bit. All right. Meanwhile, Austin and Liz are having their date in the HOH room. The food was prepared and served by James and Julia. They had steak for dinner. They had a cheesecake for dessert. Living the life. So then, during this date, Austin does ask Liz to be his girlfriend. And Liz isn't just going to be like, yes. She's just like, is this because of yesterday? Meaning the whole Zingbot thing? Because Zingbot was like, yo, Austin's got a girlfriend at home. So Austin was like, sort of. But Austin says that he wants to, like, move forward with a commitment. He wants something concrete. And it's so freaking sad because he brings up, like, how he wants something, like, outside of the house. But, like, the reason that it's sad is because the other day, Austin was talking about how, like, he's gonna need Steve's help to, like, keep guys away from Liz at the rap party. So it sounds like he's trying to, like, stake his claim on Liz so that at the rap party he can be like, that's my girlfriend. That's so sad. So Liz seems hesitant at first, but then after a while she's just like, yes, I'll be your girlfriend. So they share the news with Julia. She's like, yeah, you have my blessing, whatever. And then they tell, like, the rest of the house too, yes, tell everyone in the house that you're officially dating and you have this, like, next level connection with another person in the house. But you know what? It doesn't seem to faze people this season. What is going on? Okay. So then Austin and Johnny Mac have a chat, and this was kind of weird. Johnny Mac was like, look, Austin, eventually somebody's gonna have to go after you and the twins. You may as well let that person be me, because if it's me doing it, I'll ask you guys what you want. Like, I'll do it on your terms. You can tell me which one's going home, and it's all good. I mean, he kind of has a point there. I don't know. So then Liz was not happy about that when Austin told her about it. She was just like, what the F? Like, what is he saying? So then Meg and James were up in the HOH room with Austin and Liz, and Austin lets them know Steve and Johnny Mac are both pushing for for Vanessa to use the veto this week. And if that happens, like, obviously he'd have to nominate one of them. So, like, he's telling them, like, what am I saying? Steve and Johnny Mac are, like, throwing Meg and James under the bus, basically. So Austin's like, but you know what? It's all about brass tacks. He wants to work with Meg and James. He does not want Vanessa to use the POV. And he also says, like, it's pretty obvious that Steve and Johnny Mac are working together because they're trying to save each other. So, something non-game related. The live feeders voted last night, and they wanted the house guests to play hide and seek. They complied. Yay. Alright, so then there was, like, a ton more scampering last night. But after everything, it seemed like Austin still wanted nominations to stay the same. So there you go. James got a couple good scares in last night, and everyone was like, oh, we're gonna get him back. We're gonna get him back. This morning was a cluster. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Johnny Mac is talking to Vanessa, and he's just like, what's the deal? Like, what are you doing with the veto? And Vanessa's just like, I'm gonna do whatever Austin wants. So Johnny Mac is like, I'm gonna be straight with you here. You are going to be in trouble next week whether I stay or go. Because last week there was an alliance of 5 working to try and get rid of you. So the alliance was Johnny Mac, Steve, Austin, and the twins. So then Johnny Mac is like, sorry, my mouth is so dry. So then he's saying, they're only working with you right now because you won the POV. Like, if you didn't win the POV, you could have been out of here. So Vanessa's just like, what the F? So she's saying, like, thank you for telling me that, but, like, even if I use the POV, I can't guarantee the votes to, like, sway what's going to happen this week. So then Vanessa goes and she asks Liz about this 5-person alliance. And at first Liz is just like, what? Like, she's denying it. And then she's just like, okay, it was real. And she pins it on Steve. She's just like, yeah, Steve, it was his idea. He put this all together. So then Liz goes up to the HOH. She's freaking out. She's cursing up a storm. She is so pissed at Johnny Mac. She wants him out for telling Vanessa about this alliance. So then Vanessa is, like, freaking out on Steve. She's like, oh, what the F? Like, you're turning on me, blah, 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 blah. He's just like, I did not orchestrate this. But he's, like, really nervous, obviously, so he's just like, and Vanessa's just like, I can tell you're lying, mother effer, you're going home, mother effer. She kept calling him that. And then, yeah, it was really crazy. So while all that was happening, Meg and James are having, like, this little quiet celebration. They have no freaking idea what's going on. They're just happy that they're not part of it. And it involves the POV holder and 2 of the nominees. So they're just like, yes. Looks like we're gonna be good. So then Vanessa is talking to Austin and Liz. She's like, guys, I'm not mad at you 2. Like, you had a reason to be pissed at me last week and want to go after me. But she is furious at Steve. Like, she wants Steve out hardcore. So you got Vanessa who wants Steve out. Liz wants Johnny Mac out. And then it's time for the power veto ceremony. So, like, obviously Vanessa did not use it, which means either Steve or Johnny Mac will be going home on Thursday. Of course, whoever's evicted is going to have a chance to come back in the house. But it's going to be really interesting to see which one of them is evicted. It's going to be interesting. So let me know in the comments who you guys want to go home. And until then, well, until tomorrow, much love. Edit.